It's Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another handheld unboxing. And this week we have the Retroid Pocket 5. Yes, I know. Sounds weird to be doing the Retroid Pocket 5 now, but I decided to do the RP5 now for a couple different reasons. One, I had originally thought about doing this as one of my first review devices. However, I chose the AYN Odin 2 Portal, and I chose the ROG Ally X as my first two devices, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I know it sounds crazy, but I remember I have to pay for almost every single device out of pocket, and this is one of those instances. And I've heard from some reviewers that this is one of their favorite devices of 2025, so I can't miss out on it. That said, there's another big reason, and let's find out what that reason is right after this. Hey fam, Swati Tukongkrat Pinik here, and thank you for joining me for another video. And as I alluded to in my intro, the reason I wanted to get this done was because Retroid has released their second screen companion accessory. And I wanted to answer the question, is it better to have it as an accessory, or is it better to have it built in like it's going to be on the upcoming Ayenio Pocket DS that cost a lot more than this, or the AYN Thor that will cost similar to this but have smaller overall screen real estate? So, without further ado, let's get into this and find out what this is like to begin with. As I said, I've heard from some different reviewers that this is one of their favorite devices of the year, multiple of them actually. So I wanted to check this out for the first time. Let's pop that seal. Now, this is kind of a nice touch. I like these kind of lids here. Okay, and as you can see, we have our nice little foam protector protecting our device. Okay, let's see that there to the side for a second. Little guard to keep it in place. Little user manual that nobody reads. And a decently length USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Great. Not a lot in here, but at least it gives us the basics. So I appreciate that. And the cable looks like it has a decent length, so that's good. So let's flip this up here so we can see that. All right. And let's take this out of its nice little sleeve here, or baggie. Okay, so the 16-bit. So this is obviously kind of a gray color. I'm not sure how well the camera is picking it up, but I'm going to slide this off to the side because a lot of people say that the AYN Odin 2 Portal looks quite similar, just with offset sticks rather than parallel sticks. And I can see some similarities, obviously. Having the buttons down here in the same type of grill, having an all-glass front. I like having the Skittles buttons rather than the plain white buttons, of course. It looks like it's the same D-pad, just larger, which makes sense since it is a larger device. And yeah, they both have OLED screens. Oh, wow, yeah. So subtle differences, of course, here, but you can see has a similar type of pattern, but definitely still a different pattern. This has a different texture than what this does. This feels more like the actual case here, which is quite interesting. And you can see the exhaust is actually facing back versus they put the exhaust facing up. Not sure which way is better, but there you go. What else do we have here? We do have volume and power in roughly the exact same space. And we also do have USB-C, 3.5 mil, and MicroSD card slots in roughly the same places, just obviously spaced out more for the Odin 2 Portal because it is a bigger device. Now, this, of course, has a 7-inch screen versus this has a 5.5-inch screen. So kind of like this that I recently reviewed with a 5.5-inch screen, but this has an OLED screen like this does. The difference is this can refresh at 120 frames per second, whereas this can only refresh at 60 frames per second. Where this could come in is when you're playing retro games. You might want to play like a CRT beam shader to give the CRT effect on your retro games. That's nice and easy on this because you can do 60 frames, but set it to 120, add that beam shader, which will then insert another frame in between each to give you that CRT feel. And that'll give you 120 true frames per second, including the beam shaders being added to it. Whereas this one, you do that, you'd have to drop it down to 30 actual game frames per second. So a little difference there. Okay, buttons sound similar. The nice thing is these use the same type of sticks. So if I wanted to take these high profile sticks, watch I do this on my video and mess it up, but hey, that's why we do these videos for you, right? If I can get it on here. There we go. So you can have a larger stick if you want to have a larger stick. That's one of the great things about these guys is they did include the standard sticks to make it nice and easy for everyone. And speaking of sticks, I've actually partnered with my first accessory maker, Sakura. I'll have a link to his store coming up shortly. He's going to be sending me some sticks that'll work on both of these devices, as well as the upcoming Thor, Odin 3, a Yenio Pocket DS, as well as the Conquer Pocket Fit. So I love that we'll have some good sticks to try out. Looks like his store makes some quality 3D printed sticks from Etsy. You know, I'm a fan of customization and having things be it the way you want it to be. So I'm glad that I found him and we agreed to work together. No money exchanged hands, but I appreciate that we have that flexibility here. All right, so that said, let's take a look here. Yeah, I can see where people are talking about similarities. There is some subtle differences, of course, but not drastically different so. Now, of course, this costs quite a bit cheaper too. This is about $220 versus the base price of this is about 330 US dollars. And I have the max version, so that was $500, so more than double what this one cost. But again, you can see the OLED gives you that nice inky blacks. That's why I love OLEDs as my favorite. You can see it's booting up here into Android. Get all kinds of languages. Set up a language. Set up an internet connection. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. Now, one of the interesting things I see about this is it does have the dual Wi-Fi acceleration mode. The only time I've ever seen that is actually on the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro that I'm shooting this video on. But I think it's pretty cool that they do offer it here. I wonder how they've implemented it, but either way, nice to have it there. Okay, so then we're connected to two Wi-Fis. Good, let's go. Select our time zone. Nope, not in the US. Let's try search Thailand. There we go. Beautiful. Yes, we want to enable Google Play services. Sure, they do that for the audience that's based in China that would disable that. Okay, and then which ones would you like pre-installed? You know, I'll be like a normal person. I'll just say all of them because, again, I appreciate that we have that as a quick and easy setup guide. So we'll let it install all of these. Now, I'm not sure which ones are free, which ones weren't free, but we can always delete them and put on our own paid ones if they end up being of the paid variety. But for someone that's new to the hobby, this makes it easier than some of the other devices because you can see what it is. The only thing I would maybe suggest would be to show it as, to show which, the only thing I could suggest would be to show which console each one of those emulators work with. So that way somebody that's new to the hobby wouldn't have to guess. Now you can choose their Retroid launcher or the Android launcher. So I'll choose the Android launcher. I wish they would just say Android launcher, but I understand. Configuration complete. Perfect. I like that it's complete. Okay, there we go. So you can see I've got a bunch of emulators now. Obviously no games at this point. Now this device does have 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of internal storage. But as I mentioned, you do have the micro SD card slot. They list it as TF card. So you can always use that for your ROMs or put them on here depending on what you want. So what I would probably do is put my PS2 ROMs and GameCube ROMs on the internal storage, even though you don't necessarily need to. I would probably do it that way just because the internal storage is going to be faster than the micro SD storage. And then all of the retro games, PS1 and below, I would use it on the memory cards. Like I say, so the nice thing is you do have full Android and I actually kind of like this little wallpaper. Yeah, so not bad, not bad. Kind of bright for me. I like a dark mode. I like that out of the box, though, we do get our drawer instead of having to find it. So that's always nice. Let's see, do they have a dark mode selectable here? Let's take a look. Keep screen on, okay. That'd be good for doing videos. Dark theme, there we go. That's what I want. Now let's see. Should be nice and dark. There we go, that's much better. Hurts my eyes much less. I don't know about you. Let me know down in the comment section below. Are you dark mode pro or are you light mode pro? I understand the merits of both, but for me, I like dark mode. Even in my office, I like to work in the dark. which drives my wife crazy, but it is what it is. That's just me after all. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I like that it's set up the way it is from the get-go. Of course, I'll have to go in and download Emulation Station Desktop Edition and all of those goodies so I can get my device set up. So that is this device, and you can see it's a nice little retro gray with the Skittles buttons, and I appreciate that. But let's take a look here. Now you can see this one comes in 3 colors, and the colors are black, GameCube purple, and translucent white. Now, you can see there's no gray option. The reason for that is I'm not sure why they chose to do it that way, but I got a clear case that I'm going to place on this because I'm going to actually do an accessories video like I did for the TrimUI brick hammer, and I want to be able to make it my own, as always. You know that customizability is one of my favorite things about any device, so I really wanted to be able to make this device my own. So I ordered from Retroid a clear back to go with this. Dual screen add-on. Okay, gives you little specs there. Now, one of the interesting things I looked up, because I was actually curious about the Adreno Pocket DS and the AYN Thor. I have pre-ordered both of those for my videos. However, I was curious, what kind of screen real estate are we looking at? So when we look at the square inches of both devices, let me just kind of show you here. Let me pull this guy out. Why wait any longer, right? Okay, so you can see we have the grip there. Beautiful. All right. So you can see this nice clear, and I don't know about you, but I think that looks really cool seeing all of the stuff inside. You can see the little USB port that you plug it in to power the device. One there as well for firmwares and things of that nature. Nice little expansion here. Now, both of these have the same OLED screen, a 5.5-inch screen. So I was curious about the Adreno Pocket DS because it has a 7-inch screen, but the same aspect ratio, 16:9. And then it has a secondary screen that's a 5-inch 4:3 aspect ratio screen. And the AYN Thor has a 6-inch 16:9 screen, a 3.92-inch screen, and that is a 31:27, so almost a square aspect ratio. So I was curious, which combination gives us the best pixels per square inch as well as the most screen? Well, Adreno is going to give us the most screen by far. Adreno is going to give us the equivalent of 39.5 square inches between their two screens, but their pixels per square inch is 285 between the two devices combined. What makes that interesting is if you remember, Apple coined the phrase Retina display years ago, and they said anything over 300 pixels per square inch is going to be a Retina display, and anything below that is not a Retina. So that means that combined, they're just under Retina display category. Meanwhile, the AYN Thor will have the 6-inch screen and that 3.92-inch screen, which will give them 381 pixels per square inch, so that it will be Retina display, and it will be 24.5 inches in area between the two screens. However, right in the middle there, between the two 5.5-inch screens, means that we'll get a screen real estate of 26 square inches. So we'll get more than the AYN Thor, as well as the pixels per square inch in this combination is 401 pixels per square inch. So you get the most pixel density between the three devices here on this combination. And I really want to find out, is it better to have two screens that you can disconnect one of them when you don't want it? Or is it better to have two permanently attached screens? Now, I'm hearing you scream at the screen right now, hey, PNIC, the Pocket DS and the Odin Thor, both of those will have 120 and 144 hertz refresh rate screens versus this is only 60. So what's the point? That's a great question. The thing is, the Pocket DS can only display 144 hertz if the main display is displayed and the secondary display is turned off. And the same thing for the Thor, it can only show 120 hertz on its main display if the bottom screen is turned off. Due to a limitation of Google, the refresh rate must be the same on the screens, and that's the thing, is their bottom screens are 60 hertz. So if you're using both screens on the Thor or the Pocket DS, they will have the 60 hertz refresh rate that this has. So which way is it better? Having it removable or having it combined. I'm not sure yet. That's why I decided to buy this. And luckily, I was able to get it fairly quickly compared to some others. But I want to find that out for you and for me, because I want to be able to play some DS and possibly 3DS games. I want to be able to play a game on one screen and watch a YouTube video about it or read a walkthrough on the other screen. And now I'll have this option. So with this, you do get a nice little flat cable. I love me some flat cables if you don't know already. So I love that we have that. Looks nice and clean. I love that it's retail ready. But the question is, how good is it going to be? I know that some reviewers said the initial was kind of janky, and mainly it was janky or not very well set up because it was during their initial setup process. But now they have had a chance to fix it. And by they, I mean Retroid. So I want to find out what they've done with this secondary screen. And does it make it worthwhile, or is this just a waste of time? I want to answer that question for you, because remember, I made this channel so you can make informed decisions that will be the best for you on your handheld selections. So let me know down in the comments section what you would like to see. As I mentioned, I'll have an accessories video, and then I'll do another best of video. I haven't decided what that will be the following Monday from when you're watching this, and then I will have the review the following Friday. And as I mentioned on my YouTube community post, I want to test games. So I'm going to be testing, doing some live streaming, and you can help with that. Let me know what games you would like to see, or what consoles you would like to see, or both. I want to be able to test things so you can see how it would look on this or on this. Of course, it'd be up here, but you know what I mean. I want to hear from you because, again, this channel is about you and making sure that you make informed decisions. So the best way I can do that is to have games that will work for you guys. So let me know in that community post and comment out. Again, maybe you want to see some GameCube games and you have specific ones in mind. Just remember, anything that is officially licensed IP owned by Nintendo, such as that super plumber guy that wears a red hat and his brother wears a green hat. They are very, very litigious. So I don't want to do anything that's directly owned by Nintendo. So if you want something from GameCube or Wii U, for example, please look through their catalog and verify the game you're suggesting is not directly owned by Nintendo. And like I say, I will consider that, and I'll do a 1 to 2 hour live stream where I'm playing games that you have already suggested. And then if someone else suggests another game while I'm doing the live stream, I'll take out my MicroSD card slot, talk to you while I transfer over those games to hopefully build a good community. Because again, the idea is I want to have a great PNX Handhelds community where we are all handheld gamers. Whether we actually own the devices or we just love the devices from afar, that's not important. The important thing is that we all love games and we all want to see games. So because of that, let me know what you want to see. I'm here for you. And with that said, until next time, this has been PNX.